The game that surprised me the most was the Philadelphia Eagles blitzing the Cincinnati Bengals. 37-17 was the final score in this game. I was expecting this to be a one-score game. And at halftime, it was tied 10-10, but in the second half, the Philadelphia Eagles just went scorched the earth. They outscored the Bengals 27-7 in the second half. Jalen Hurts, this probably is the best game that I've seen this brother play in over a year and a half. Because, I mean, this dude was balling out. The dude had 3 rushing touchdowns. You know, once this dude gets in the red zone, he's pretty much automatic. But he was also really good throwing the football. Had a really nice touchdown throw to Devontae Smith, who mossed the guy. A.J. Brown was doing this thing out there. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they had some injuries on the offensive line. So Jalen Hurts had to be running around, extending plays, and making some things happen with his legs. But this is the best game that I've seen Jalen Hurts play in a very long time. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they had a really good performance. It's like we know the Bengals defense has been a liability this year, but the whole Joe Burrow and company to only 17 points is an outstanding job by Vic Fangio and that defense. And the Eagles needed this win because it just felt like their season was just kind of teetering towards, you know, being a disaster, but also being a success at the same time. So now that meter kind of is tilting to the degree that the Eagles are going to have a successful season. I can't see this team going one and done in the playoffs. And the Bengals still are a good team. You're not always what your record says you are. You know, they started out slow and, you know, they're trying to dig themselves or climb out of this hole that they dug themselves in. But you know, losing to the Eagles is a game that you couldn't afford to lose. You know, you're 3-5, so you still got a chance to make it to the playoffs. But realistically, you can't afford to have 2 more losses. You feel me? Your margin of error is incredibly thin now. Now you got to go 10-7 because you might not get into the playoffs this year being a 9-8 team. That just might not happen. And, you know, Joe Burrow didn't really have that good of a game. Like, he did throw an interception, although it wasn't really his fault. It was more so of a good play by the defensive back than it was a bad throw on Joe Burrow. But it's just for the Cincinnati Bengals, you know, right now, you're not really contemplating making a coaching change because who are you going to promote from within? Lou Anarumo? This dude's defense has completely fallen off the map. This dude went from being a head coaching finalist for several jobs a few years ago, being one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, to all of a sudden, the Bengals defense is in absolute shambles. And their defense is the sole reason why their season has been the disappointment that it's been up to this point. And I know that the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the most talented teams in the league, but the way people in the national media, Colin Cowherd, and people on ESPN talk about Nick Sirianni, you would think that this dude is just as bad as what Jeff Ulbrich is. But when I watch the Philadelphia Eagles play, you know, when they're playing their A game and they're playing their best football, they get Saquon Barkley going, Jalen Hurts is doing a good job taking care of the ball, and the defense can actually get some stops. This is one of the scariest teams in the league. And this game was the prime example, you know, why you just can't, you know, buy into the media narratives that people got about Nick Sirianni. Like, I'm not as low on Nick Sirianni as what a lot of folks are. I actually like Nick Sirianni. I love the fact that this dude barks at fans. This dude is a little bit of, you know, over the top in his press conferences. I like coaches like that. My favorite coach ever is Mike Leach. R.I.P. to him. I love coaches that got a lot of charisma and personality. And people say this dude doesn't really know that much about football. I did see the article that came out during the offseason about the tension that him and Jalen Hurts had, and they currently still do have. But it's like, you know, when I saw the clip when they beat down the Giants the following week ago, you know, he asked Saquon, hey, bro, you want to go back into the game and, you know, get your career high? Saquon's like, no. I felt like that was a good, touching, heartwarming moment. You feel me? And as much as it is easy to dump on Nick Sirianni, say that this dude doesn't know shit about football, he's overqualified, you can't just say that this dude is getting carried by the guys around him when he went to a Super Bowl before. You feel me? And this dude has shown the ability to hire good coordinators. And I just think it's a little bit far-fetched to say that this dude is not a good coach. Like, I'm not going to say he's a good coach, but I think it's a little far-fetched to say that this dude is a bad coach. You feel me? Like, the Eagles are beating teams like the Bengals that you thought the Bengals would have had a good chance of being able to beat. You feel me? If Nick Sirianni is as bad as what people make him out to be in the media, you should have lost to the Bengals. And for you to just blow the Bengals out like this just ain't anybody. You feel me? You did this to Joe Burrow. And I love me some Joe Burrow. You feel me? And I still believe the Bengals will be a playoff team this year. But, I was really shocked at how the Eagles just kicked the Bengals. You know what? Because my grandpa asked me a few days ago, JT, what are the biggest games of the week? He thought it was the Cowboys and the 49ers. I was like, hell no. You know what the 49ers do to the Cowboys every time they play them on prime time? They own the Cowboys. They got majority stake in that franchise. They own Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. The game of the week I thought was going to be the Eagles versus the Bengals because it was a must-win game for both teams, and the Eagles just ran away with it. You know, watching the second half, you thought you was watching Alabama versus Jabroni University. Wow.